Hi team, welcome to the Kindness, Curiosity and Comfortable Shoes podcast. My name is James McFetrich and this is an ongoing toolkit for all healthcare staff. Whether you are a porter or a paediatrician, a domestic or a driver, clinical or non-clinical, just starting or just finishing your work in healthcare, this podcast aims to give you some useful thoughts about working for this amazing business to get you through your day. Before we start today's episode, I'll be so grateful if you could do one thing for me. If there is anything in these episodes that helps you in your day-to-day work as a healthcare worker, please tell your friends and colleagues so they can benefit from it too. I'd be so grateful if you could do that to really help grow this podcast. Thank you. One of the best ways to improve your performance at work is to get some feedback. And I guess a form of feedback from yourself to yourself is reflection, and I'm going to talk about that in a later episode. But some form of feedback, whether it's from yourself or from others, will always help you improve, and there is always room for improvement. I really feel we should always strive to find out how we can do our job better. But that can be challenging, and it may feel like quite high pressure. But clearly, if you repeat the same thing over and over again, your work will be less rewarding. So it's nice to think how we can improve. How can we use our skills in slightly different situations? Make sure that we are adaptable to the ever-changing world of healthcare. So I thought we'd think a little bit about feedback today. One of the problems is we may not be very comfortable about accepting feedback. If it's good feedback, we may feel a bit embarrassed, a bit uncomfortable that someone's being nice to us. And clearly, if it's less than good feedback, do we feel criticised? Do we resent it? Possibly we try to justify our behaviour without actually learning from someone who's hopefully offering constructive advice. So, as you'd expect, in line with the title of this podcast, I think it's really nice to be curious about what other people have to say. You don't have to agree with them, but their comments may help you think in a different way. One of the bits of research underlying this is the Johari window. I'll put a link to the Wikipedia page about it in the show notes. And this is a technique to allow you to understand your relationships with others. And it basically sets out 4 quadrants based on areas that are known to yourself by yourself, but also unknown to yourself about yourself. Comparing those to areas about you that are known to others and areas about yourself that are unknown to others. Bit difficult to explain in this medium, but follow the link and see what you think about it. The important thing about the Johari window is that there's a blind spot, an area that is known to others about you, but not known to you. That's your blind spot, and feedback helps you understand that area better because you're going to find out something about yourself that you weren't aware of, but other people are. And if you want to grow and improve, it's also nice to get feedback from a variety of people. It's also nice to challenge them too. It's very easy, and I find this myself. If someone does something well, I just say, yeah, that was great, that was really good. But challenge someone if they say that. Well, what aspect was good? Do you need to specifically say, can you expand on that so I know what areas were good, what areas I need to work on? So receiving feedback can feel a bit uncomfortable, but it will help you grow and understand yourself a lot better. And that feeds into reflecting on your work as well. You may also be in the position of giving feedback. And that's also not easy to do. As I alluded to earlier, I should be reasonably comfortable and good at this, I guess, as an educationalist. But it's very easy to make bland statements. That was really good. I like the way you did that, but without really saying anything specific. And if you are saying something negative, there is that concern about offending people. And that can sometimes come out as being overly or insincerely nice. Imagine the Christmas present that you receive and you unwrap it in front of someone and it's not what you really want, but you don't want to offend them. So it comes out that, oh, that's lovely. And, we know it's all a bit insincere. The other risk is that if you don't want to offend people by giving feedback, that you end up being so factual that you risk not appreciating the emotional impact of others on your feedback. And again, linking to the title of the podcast, it's useful to give feedback with an element of kindness. Thinking why we're doing this, it should be constructive feedback to help other people grow. So to do that, it's nice to make sure that the timing is right for feedback, the place is right, you're not going to be interrupted, and that person is going to be accepting of the feedback. It's not going to interrupt other work that they are doing, going to put them off track. And trying to give feedback as best as we can, although it is tricky, trying to be non-judgemental. And there's a technique called advocacy with enquiry that is quite nice to help you give that feedback, to say, I noticed when, and highlighting a certain point in time, that this happened or that you did this. So you're being quite objective. You're not saying whether that thing is good or bad, but you're just highlighting a point in time and identifying something that happened. And then crucially, the conversation then goes back to the person who is receiving that feedback. Talk me through what's happening. Let me understand that a bit more. So you understand where they were coming from when a certain thing happened. To be able to give useful feedback, it needs to be in the context of the person receiving that feedback. Where were they at that moment in time? What were they feeling? Were there other circumstances going on which meant they didn't perform quite as well as they did? And once you understand that, it is easier to give feedback that is relevant and purposeful to that person. It's not easy, and I think it's worthwhile spending some time thinking about how you can give feedback to help people grow. And as I say, if you're receiving that feedback, to be open to receiving that and being curious about what other people have to say to improve your work. And finally, on the subject of feedback, please do let me know what you think of this podcast. I'm keen to make sure that I'm approaching the people that I think will be helped by this. I want it to be a toolkit that's useful for anyone in healthcare, and to know that I'm providing something useful for you. And if not, how can I help? Are there things that you want to see covered in the podcast? Are there topics that you want me to cover? So please let me know at our email address. That's hellokccpodcast, all one, no dots, dashes or anything. hellokccpodcast@gmail.com. And that'd be great if you could just drop me a line, let me know what you think about it. Also, there are places wherever you're listening to your podcast where you can leave a public review if you want. And that really helps the podcast grow, me know that I'm doing something useful with this. Thank you for listening today. Let me know what you thought about this episode. I am on @JMacEducation on all the socials. And there are links in the show notes for anything that we've talked about today that may be of interest or further reading for you. I'd be really grateful if you could rate, review and subscribe. And most importantly, if you found this helpful, please tell your colleagues about this podcast. So please take care of yourselves out there. You are doing a great job. And remember, be kind, be curious, and don't forget your comfortable shoes. Thank you to Shakina Studio for the music, downloaded through Audio Jungle. Thank you to Beth for the artwork and the photo, produced through Canva. And thank you to Buzzsprout for hosting the podcast. The Kindness, Curiosity and Comfortable Shoes podcast is a JMac Education production.